Carol Reiley, thank you so much for being here today. You are absolutely a modern day superwoman, a super brain, a super mom, a super serial entrepreneur with an unbelievable wealth of experiences, as well as a startup underway in healthcare. You're one half of the power couple with Andrew Ng, the co-founder of Coursera and the professor of the most popular machine learning course at Stanford University. You're a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader, which is where I met you originally and where we connected. And you're the founder of Deep Music AI. I could go on and on and on. You're an active advocate for diversity in AI. You've worked in robotics, healthcare, space with Lockheed Martin. You're the co-founder and president of Drive.ai, which was leading partnerships with Lyft and Grab and raised over $77 million. You've been selected by Forbes and MIT Tech Review as one of the top women in AI. I'm so happy to have you here for a brief deep dive. Carol, welcome.
Thank you for the very kind introduction there, Dana. I'm happy to chat with you today.
Absolutely. So I'm going to dive right in here. How did you get started working in AI?
I've been in AI and robotics for over 20 years at this point, and I actually started as an undergrad freshman. I had a research fellowship that covered my tuition in engineering, and I didn't know how to code and didn't know much about engineering, and had just chosen to work in an ME robotics lab since that seemed to be the coolest research project, and the other one seemed a little too theoretical for me. So I'm a very applications-based person that like to feel and see the direct impact of what I build. And robotics was really great for that. And it was a sandbox to explore coding and programming, soldering motors, sensors, and actuators. And then really I focused on artificial intelligence, specifically in graduate school, where I was working on the Da Vinci system. And we were trying to see, can you recognize a surgeon's motion and grade them? Is there some way to standardize surgical learning? And so really using vision and motion to recognize what a surgeon is doing. There's so many different applications of AI and different ways to grow in a career.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think if they give you money to study, then that's always a great direction to go, right?
Yeah, love to learn. So yeah, whether it's for robotics, computers, or humans, however they learn, it's just fascinating.
And with robotics, how did you get started? Were you interested in robots as a child?
No, I can't say I was. I think just like every layman, I thought they were really interesting, and I'd see them in sci-fi movies. And I also saw this new perspective of social robots and cute Furbies when we were growing up. I was curious to see how robots can impact humanity in terms of making us superhuman. So I really looked at robotics not as a threatening, existential threat to humanity, but more how do you supplement humans to make them superhuman, and how do you make us better?
It's pretty high level. So bringing it back down to earth here, two of the most often seen concerns in AI are the disruption of human jobs and the singularity when machines will surpass humans in every capability. However, I've noticed that there are many quirks and perhaps even frightening projects out there, such as Mark Sagar's simulated AI baby. Are you familiar with this project?
Yeah, I saw the video. It is it's interesting. It's quite realistic.
Very realistic. The first time I saw it, there was an investor who showed me there was an AI baby on screen, and he said, "Hey, this is just like a real baby. Like you can get its attention, you can, speak to it, you could sing to it, you could lull it to sleep." And I said, "Okay, so what should I do?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. It's going to take you 5 years before it's going to really know anything. So you just have to talk to it and kind of raise it." I said, "Oh, well, that's completely frightening and very realistic, as you mentioned." So knowing these concerns, and also that there are incredibly unique projects out there, what do you think is the scariest thing that you've seen in AI?
I feel like there's been the slew of applications of different realistic projects. They might be scary in the sense that they're not human, but I'm extremely excited to see people experimenting with it, create new types of things or new breeds of art. We call this the uncanny valley, where there's something that looks super realistic, but then it's slightly off and non-human. And there's like a slew of projects in that zone, things like the Polar Express or this AI baby, which doesn't move human-like. But I think that the scariest things in AI that I've seen are really things you can't see. So we've talked about the blind spots in data where it just really discriminates and excludes like certain amount of people, products that don't work for everybody, this inequality gap that's widening. So things like that really scare me about the future of AI, because it's in the hands of so few people that can create it at this point, and it has such a large impact. The second thing is just preparing people for the future and reskilling, retraining them for jobs that will have high impact. I believe that AI will free up the mundane tasks and allow humans to do more creative, impactful tasks. And so I think shifting our perspective to focus people for skills like that, rather than trying to save the jobs that will get automated. It's kind of like how the computer has automated a ton of different jobs, but it's made us more efficient. A bank teller is one example. There's more transactions because of an ATM, and there's more jobs created once the ATM was there, because now the customer service reps can do more important interactions with people, as opposed to just like this transactional money thing that would take up most of their day. So that's just one example. I think AI will automate some of the boring things that you don't want out of your job, and then allow you to do some of these deeper thinking jobs.
So that really is a testament to why it's important to continue the work that you're doing to support diversity in AI, so that we have more voices represented in a wider spectrum of cultures and backgrounds, and people that are having a voice in the development. And I love that you mentioned it will make us be able to be more creative, because as awesome as a lot of these platforms are, we still need humans to curate taste. And there's something very special about human talent where it comes to the specificity of the beauty in art, and creating something that goes over the edge and makes something that's not just good, but it's breathtaking and it's unforgettable. And I love that you mentioned that it'll make us more creative. I sure hope that it keeps us digging deeper into those creative zones. Speaking of creativity, last year you launched Deep Music AI, and you commissioned 3 new pieces of music by composers collaborating with AI. How did you and your team go about researching new AI music platforms?
Great question. It's really evolving quite quickly. At that point in time, it was a group of friends and we were chatting, and some of them worked at companies, some of them were at research projects and universities that were doing this AI and tech cross with music space. And we were just wondering, what are the platforms? Has anyone evaluated the different platforms? Is there compare pros and cons? And that didn't seem to exist. So we created like an open source Google Sheets that just had a few parameters, and we opened it up to the community for people to self-populate. I think there's over 88 platforms, and what was this, 2020? There's about 88 platforms and research groups that were doing work in this space. No doubt by now it's doubled or quadrupled in the number of people interested in building platforms. But that was one place that we started. Another one was deepmusic.ai co-hosted the AI song contest, and we ran this global competition. And a lot of the teams either built their own or let us know what they're using. And that's been a great resource and really eye-opening as well. So those are just some of the places that we had sourced from. We really opened it up to the community, and people spoke to us and told us what was going on.
That's fantastic.
So we're actually we've been working with some of these companies trying to redefine the next generation of tools based on the input from the musicians who have used them.
Oh, fantastic. And I hope that we'll be able to share some of those links and some of those resources as we release this interview. That'd be great if you have that.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. The competition sounds amazing as well. It's always a great way to learn from peer practices.
Yeah. Yep. And then it's nice to have kind of a cohort to go through, to like a Discord channel that students are chatting with each other when they get stuck, and mentors as well. So it's nice to have a deadline, and then also community.
Deadline is key. I love deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the AI industry do you think is the greatest opportunity and the most necessary for investment today?
So if you asked me this maybe like 10 years ago, I was a firm believer in self-driving cars. And today I think it takes up like 90% of the VC capital to invest, because the self-driving car space has demanded so many resources. I would just say AI is going to pervade every sort of industry that there is. And I'm looking not for like the tech companies or like the next strong Google, but really these old school industries that can use AI and leverage the data that they have to becoming like a modern version of it. Because if they don't go through this AI transformation, some other startup will take over and do it better than them and faster than them. Like some financial ones, farming, manufacturing, And it could be global, it could be anywhere in the world. It's someone who is really good at doing what they do manually, but those tasks can definitely be automated and switched.
As you mentioned, AI will certainly become a ubiquitous part of society, and whether people know it or not, they will be affected, whether they're working together or working alongside or unknowingly working with AI. As that begins to seamlessly transition, what do you think is one thing that you would like for everyone to know about AI?
AI is the new electricity. It's not one application, it's not one thing. It's not going to be so front and center. What I would really hope for AI in the future is that it's going to run seamlessly. It's going to work in the background, work so well. It's going to be like electricity where it basically powers everything. Back in the day, there used to be a chief electricity officer. You're like, what do I use electricity for? You're like, I don't know. You use it for everything. It turns on everything. It just is the backbone of everything working. That's where I think AI is going to be, where it's such a strong, influential foundation for everything that we do moving forward. One thing I ask everyone is whether or not you think AI is going to affect your job or who you are. I think you should learn about AI, understand some of the terminology, being able to speak and be fluent in AI lingo and what is going on in the field, because regardless, you are going to touch it. Your kids are going to be impacted by it. It's going to be so seamless and come so quietly from the background that you're not even going to be aware that it's there. So good AI is going to be just like a spam filter. It's going to be just running seamlessly in the background and making your lives better. It's worthwhile to know what it does and how it works, and make sure that things are done ethically and that humans still are in control and have a voice in what it does.
I like that. Being able to identify who the good players are is always important in giving us a hope for a better future. Well, thank you so much for spending your time and sharing your expertise with us, Carol. It's been a pleasure to deep dive with you. I'll leave some links to your amazing story and some of the projects that you're working on, text descriptions when we launch this interview. Thank you again.
Thank you. It's always fun to chat with you, Dana. I'll see you in person soon.
Okay.